Good morning. It's May 29th, just a few days after the extraordinary Schiller Institute conference. I'm Diane Sare, president of the LaRouche organization. What we're going to talk about today is the efforts by Western Europe, the Germans in this case, and obviously the British and the French, and probably some sharks within the Trump administration who are trying to sabotage the potential to end the Ukraine-Russia war. As I'm sure most of you are aware by now, over the weekend, the newly elected chancellor from BlackRock, Friedrich Merz of Germany, said that Germany has eliminated all limits on long-range missiles to Ukraine, all distance limits, and the UK, the US, and France have done the same. Well, shortly after that, the vice chancellor said, oh, no, we haven't done that. That's not the policy. Then Merz said, oh, well, actually, we haven't done that. I was referring to something earlier under the Biden administration. This is really insane. Russia is not going to tolerate being struck with long-range missiles from Western Europe. And the editor-in-chief of Russia's military journal, National Defense, said that they will hold a legal proceeding demonstrating that it's totally legal for Russia to then use Orezhnik missiles to strike the production facilities in Germany of the Taurus missiles. So I don't think it should be hard to see how rapidly this can escalate. And then, of course, today, Friedrich Merz had a press conference with none other than Vladimir Zelensky, where the two of them said they're going to ramp up efforts to collaborate, and they're going to collaborate. He said, Merz said, the two countries will set up joint projects to produce long-range weapons able to strike military targets in Russia and Russian-controlled territory of Ukraine. So this is really alarming. Now, let me tell you what Lavrov had to say, Lavrov being the foreign minister of Russia, in response to this. He said, Europe has once again found itself a Nazi flag by committing to a completely misguided, disastrous venture of inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia. To hear from the current German leader that Germany will regain its position as a leading military power in Europe just after we celebrated the 80th anniversary of the defeat of Hitler's Nazism is quite symptomatic. History apparently has taught them nothing. Now, I can say also that Lavrov gave a press conference. He traveled to Turkey, met with Hakan Fidan, the foreign minister of Turkey, formerly known as Turkey, and they have announced a number of initiatives together. They also wanted to express their common position on the Palestinian issue. They said, we believe that the developments in Gaza and on the West Bank are unacceptable. Prospects for establishing a Palestinian state as required by a UN resolution are deliberately destroyed by creating facts on the ground. Lavrov made some pointed remarks, which I think people should consider, given that President Trump actually said when a reporter questioned him at an airport that he was completely unaware of an incident reported by someone from the Russian Air Defense Force that President Putin's helicopter had flown into a swarm of drones when he went to visit people in the Kursk region. The way the incident was described was as if Ukraine was launching a whole bunch of drones. They may have intensified the effort knowing that Putin was traveling there, not that the drones were all targeting his helicopter exactly, but it created a very, very dangerous situation for the Russian head of state to be flying literally into a combat zone. And the Ukrainians in this area, the Russians, shot down over 1,000 drones in some neighborhoods a handful, I think 12 drones got through and killed a number of civilians. Now, it seems that Trump was not briefed on any of this, and he made this Truth Social post a few days ago saying, I don't know what's gotten into Putin. He's crazy. Why is he striking Ukraine? Well, he's striking Ukraine because the Ukrainians are launching thousands of drones that are killing civilians in Russia, although fortunately the Russians are very good at shooting them down. So Lavrov said the following, and please consider this. He said governments are being misbriefed about what is happening with the drone warfare between Russia and Ukraine. The fact that those whose job consists of briefing their leaders about what happens with the Ukraine crisis have been failing to report the truth means that they either do not want to know the truth or they are seeking to conceal it. Are people deliberately concealing facts from President Trump? Wouldn't surprise me. I know Tulsi Gabbard has been in somewhat of a fight to relocate the headquarters of the Director of National Intelligence. Does she have access to brief President Trump? Because I think she would be aware of these things. Certainly, I'm not sure. Is he relying on Keith Kellogg, who is a pro-British idiot, virtually treasonous? Or Marco Rubio, who has his own presidential ambitions? I'm not sure. Now, Lavrov also said that he was not overly impressed with the hoopla over Trump's latest rounds of attacks on Putin. Lavrov, and the Russians are very level-headed, he said, regarding what you referred to as shifts in President Donald Trump's statements, changes in rhetoric are common among many world leaders. For instance, until recently, all of Europe was shouting in unison, no ceasefire, pump Ukraine full of weapons. This is what must be done and crush Russia on the battlefield. And what are they shouting now? Ceasefire, immediately, without preconditions. Yet the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, adds that they will not stop supplying weapons to Ukraine during the ceasefire, and they demand that they are demanding from Russia. He said President Trump is a man who seeks outcomes. When he perceives that his endeavors to advance a settlement, as agreed with President Vladimir Putin, when he observes that a group of European representatives has commenced sabotaging these efforts by inciting Ukraine to take utterly reckless actions, including drone attacks on Moscow and other cities, even targeting the helicopter of the president of the Russian Federation, naturally certain emotions may manifest in him. As a man who does not tolerate impediments in the pursuit of noble objectives, President Trump developed certain evaluations, a particular rhetoric. The key here is not to focus on the rhetoric, but to ensure that Europe ceases to sabotage the movement toward peace. So there you have it from the Russian foreign minister, very well reasoned, making it clear where he stands. Now, very exciting news. Sébastien Perimoni from the French Schiller Institute is actually in Russia at the May 27th through 29th International Security Conference. He was interviewed both by TASS and RIA Novosti, and he stressed that the meeting, in the interview, that this meeting of security representatives is fundamental for the future of the world. Apparently, he said there were about 130 nations represented here. So hello, Western Europe. There's 130 nations out of 200 nations meeting in Russia to discuss security. You might consider you're in the minority of the world. And he said the tension is being caused by the transition to a multipolar world, which is resisted by states seeking to maintain their hegemony. Now, on other news, Marco Rubio is pressuring the Organization of American States to build some kind of inter-American military force in Haiti. This is really disgusting and hypocritical. If the United States was not just using Haiti as a drug transshipment point and allowing that nation to develop based on the talent and patriotism of its own citizens, Haiti would be able to develop. Also, the United States sabotaged potential for a complete, beautiful reconstruction of Port-au-Prince in collaboration with China by insisting that Haiti recognize Taiwan and not China. Now, the last thing I want to report today is just really gut-wrenching, but we cannot allow this genocide going on in Gaza and the stupid disaster of this Gaza Humanitarian Fund, which is simply a fig leaf to try and cover up the genocide committing to assuage people who may feel a pang of guilt over what they are doing. It is not a serious relief effort so far, and the first day of distribution of food boxes was quite chaotic, with the IDF opening fire, killing at least 3 Palestinians, etc. But this tragedy, which I hope you have heard of, was about the pediatrician who was working in an emergency room, and the IDF, her husband also being a doctor, targeted her home with a rocket. The first rocket failed to detonate, so her medical doctor husband, who was outside with their newborn baby, rushed in to try and get the children out to save them, 9 children. And the Israelis sent a second rocket, which exploded. This is typical Israeli, by the way, Mossad operation, where they create a disaster, allow the emergency rescue personnel to come in, and then kill them all. So 9 of her 10 children were killed. Her husband is fighting for his life in a critical care unit, as is their newborn infant. These crimes absolutely have to stop. The United States, this government, is going to be known as being complicit in them. And it is very hard to imagine that President Trump or any American leader will be able to bring peace as long as we do not halt the brutal genocide being carried out by Israel with our weapons against the Palestinian people. Now, finally, I just want to urge everybody who has watched this update to please support the LaRouche organization. If you give a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will receive in your email inbox the Executive Intelligence Review Daily Alert. At a recent conference, former CIA analyst Ray McGovern made the point that he actually reads the Daily Alert every morning, and particularly if he has to get on a news show or give a briefing. It's the best intelligence around, and you can get it by giving $10 a month or more. If you can give $25 or $50 a month, by all means, don't let me discourage you. We need the funds to print, to be in Washington, D.C., to be organizing for the new paradigm. So thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful day, and please sign up for a regular monthly donation.